Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, just tuning into WPBQ 94.3 FM, as well as through our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcasts. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Our next guest not only has made history as being the youngest mayor of any American city, but also being able to do a lot, not only, of course, when it comes to politics and holding office, but also in life. I'm excited to welcome Congressman Dennis Kucinich to our program. He's now celebrating his brand new book. It's called The Division of Light and Power. It gives us a fascinating look not only at his time in office, but also the decisions he's been able to make, what led him to make those decisions and deal with the consequences, and what he wants all of us to know about the journey to where he is today. If you all have not gotten your copy of the book, of course, we'll remind you how you can do that. But, Congressman, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Cyrus, great to join you. And, I look forward to our discussion.
Same here. I want to begin the conversation, Congressman, where you actually ended the book in your epilogue, because one of the things that you said when you were writing the book, you asked yourself the question that I'm sure a lot of people have been asking you too, and that is, knowing what you know, would you have done things differently? And your answer was you had to be able to do what you did because of the integrity that you had. What has that been like for you to see how your integrity and your desire to stay a person of integrity has really led you on this journey?
I believe that each of us have a soul. And I believe in that old saying about what profit a person if they gain the whole world and lose their soul. And in politics, the temptations are every day. It's a temptation for power, for money. And if you don't have a conscience and right and wrong as your polar stars, you've got a problem. And so, I chose a career in politics at a very early age, but I never got into the transactional basis of it, which often involves giving a piece of yourself.
And I think that is what puts you at odds with so many, Congressmen. And as I was reading the book, it was interesting to me to see exactly how you put yourself in a position not only that you felt the opposition, but also, the real pressure. When it came to trying to make deals, you said this in chapter 31 of the book, and I think this says so much about what you were up against. For those who have the print edition of the book, it's found on page 274. And, Congressman, you wrote this about a meeting you had with Carl Rudolph. And talking about that in CEI, you said this: the Cleveland business establishment, of which CEI was a key member, viewed City Hall and taxpayers' dollars as corporate assets. The economic power they wielded brought political power used to enhance the wealth of their shareholders. They were in it for their next earnings report. I was in it for the next generation of Clevelanders to assure a city government they could call their own. While I was interested in resolution, I was also prepared to press forward. So I want to talk about that because you have done what you've done, not only because of your own integrity, Congressman, but also thinking about those that you serve. What has that been like for you, and where does that come from, that desire to be able to make life better for others?
From a very early age, I it didn't belong to just myself, and it starts off when you're a child, helping people, run errands, helping around the house, graduate to carrying people's groceries, just to help elderly people, being a school guard at school, haven't been a Catholic, serving Mass. So it's like, and I think every child, if they're exposed to opportunities to be of service, would be responsive. And I was given chances to serve. I enjoyed it. I liked helping others. And so I grew into an adult who believed in service. And I think that you cannot be a leader unless you're first a servant.
And I think that is the big thing. And I think serving is one of the things that you have become known for. As you were kind of reflecting on this journey for you over the years, Congressman, is that one of the things that you think has been the most consistent about your track, and that is being willing to serve and look after the interests of others.
Well, I mean, what's life about? If it's all about oneself, it's pretty barren and dismal. We have an obligation to make sure that we can take our next breath to the best of our ability to take care of ourselves, to take care of those whom we love. But, I like to think that if you view the world as I do, is that we're all one, that we're interconnected and interdependent, then everyone out there is my brother and sister, and I'm going to take care of my extended family and play my role to make sure that if I can, help feed people, clothe them, shelter them, provide opportunities for people to make a living, provide opportunities for education. To me, that's part of the purpose of living.
And yet it has come with its cost, and you were very honest about that in the book. There was that one dialogue where you were told, the mistake that you made is thinking that you were mayor, and I think it really goes to, a big point of how so many people see their roles. Even though someone else is supposed to be the one who's supposed to be making the decisions with the people best interest at heart. You also talk about the other cost of this, Congressman, and that is to yourself personally and to your family. In chapter 72 of the book, as you were kind of outlining what happened, you said this, for those who have the print edition, on pages 548 and 49, you say, the Cleveland establishment, not satisfied with having destroyed me politically, tried to destroy me financially. No one wanted to be known as the person who gave me a job. Whenever and wherever I sought employment after leaving office, offers were extended, then withdrawn. You go on to talk about a very powerful and personal conversation that you were able to have and with Sandy. And one of the things, and I think this really struck me, which is why I wanted to bring it up, you said to Sandy, we saved Muni Light. Sandy said to you, nobody cares about Muni Light but you. People just care about themselves. And, I mean, that is such a powerful thing. Unfortunately, it is so true when it comes to so many. But what was that conversation like for you to reflect on?
Look, she was right. My wife, during that time, was right. She understood exactly what was going on. And so that's the kind of tension that goes on in any relationship between idealism and realism. Sandy had understood exactly what was going on, and I was trying to do my best for the people, but hey, everyone who's ever been in politics knows the pressures on spouses, what they go through, and it's brutal. And we had a good marriage, but it couldn't withstand all those pressures. It was just what wife has to worry not only about whether they're going to be able to make a living in the town where her husband was mayor and was honest, and at the same time has to worry about her husband being assassinated. I mean, this is right. The pressures were unreal.
Right, for sure. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side in Mississippi or online around the world, you're listening to Conversations Live. I'm really privileged today to welcome Congressman Dennis Kucinich to our program. We're talking with him about his life, his journey, and his new book, The Division of Light and Power. And I have to say, I agree with so many people you've talked to about this book, Congressman. This book reads like a thriller. I mean, it is a thriller. The only difference is it is true life. I mean, and even the title, as I was reading the book, even it has different layers to it. Of course, I just referenced Muni Light. Of course, that kind of plays into the title. But also, I think this whole thing about when it comes to our morality, right, about good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark, I think it really plays a part there. Faith is a big part of this journey for you, too. You even referenced the scripture earlier in this conversation. Do you think you could have withstood all of this without your faith?
Not a chance. It was the rock on which I was able to rest my decisions and my life. I will tell you, it's really interesting, Cyrus, to be able to share the story with people from, years later. And there was a point that the book catalogs where I couldn't have been any lower, personally, financially, and everything else. but I kept the faith, and I kept believing. This there's a hymn that talks about being raised up on angels' wings and born on the breath of dawn and made to shine like the sun and being held in the palm of God's hand. And that kind of faith is what has not just abided in me, but it kept me going then, but it keeps me going today. I understand personally in a very deep way the power of faith and how things change when you have faith.
Yeah, I think that is so true. And I think, too, the other thing about you is that you definitely have resilience. I think as we talk about, even as you chronicle in the book, the mayor's race, you were in more than just a race for an office. You have been in a race just in life, in what you've been able to do to motivate people in spite of the things that were going on around you. You talk about even things with your family and the issue of mental illness. And I think, again, these are all things that people today can relate to. I'm curious, though, does the time just feel right for you, Congressman, that this book, it needed to be now that you were able to really share your story?
100%. It's first of all, it took me 40 years to finish it, so in some ways I didn't have a chance or a choice about when it would be done, except to finish it. I finally finished it, but it's interesting how, Cyrus, I finished at the right time, because the response to it now is so much different than it would have been if I'd have told this 40 years ago, because the times have moved to a point where there's a greater sensitivity to politics failing people, to corporate influence, to people selling out, and people are looking around saying, is there anybody out here that never sold out? And, I'm not, I want to be very clear. I am not saying for a second I'm better than anyone, because I'm not. But what I am saying is I made some choices based on my faith and my beliefs.
Right. And you have, and I think, too, in those choices are things that we can all learn from. I gleaned so much in reading this, Congressman, and I think one of the big things that comes away, and for myself, and I think readers who really take the time to read it will get that this just shows what we can do in spite of the challenges, in spite of the naysayers, in spite of the odds being against us, right?
Oh, yes. And, I want to say that what an interview, because you're so perceptive about the subtleties of this book. And if there's a lesson, one of the lessons is that even the smallest bit of courage can change things. It's said that if you have faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, that you can move mountains. But it's also true that courage opens all doors. Just the tiniest bit of courage in everyday life. And it's a practice. It's not about matters big. It's about matters small, having an opportunity just to express courage, to stand up in a moment. And so that's a practice every day. And it's part of the story of the book. And again, not that I'm better than anyone else. It's just that I made courage an everyday practice.
One of the most powerful chapters of the book is chapter 36. That's the last chapter I'm going to reference here in this conversation with you. Baseball is life. But I wanted, before I get into that, and I think I can't wait to see this on the screen, Congressman, because I know this is going to end up being a movie. But when I got to that chapter, and our audience will see when we talk about it. But I want to ask you another question before we get to that, before we get to Baseball is Life, and that is about the wow moments for you, because you have lived the life of many in so many ways. I mentioned, of course, making history so early, and then, of course, going on to have such a remarkable career, impacting people, being out on the world stage, and having your voice be recognized. Your name is recognized. Do you still have those wow moments at what you have been able to achieve and the gift that you've been given?
Oh, let me tell you, Cyrus, I live every day with a grateful heart. I could have never, imagined this journey, and yet it has unfolded. in remarkable ways, simply because I never quit. But I will tell you, I know a lot of people who grew up in similar circumstances, who haven't had the opportunities I've had, and so I live every day with a grateful heart. And even in this interview, I will tell you this: I feel such a deep sense of humility in you, just the fact that you read this book so thoroughly and get it on so many different levels. I'm very humbled by that, and I'm very appreciative.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And so I want to go to chapter 36, because this isn't, it's a powerful chapter, which is why, and I meant it when I said I can see this on the big screen, where here you are faced with an interesting dilemma. And I want to read it the way you wrote it, because I think it says so much, because here you were, your life is threatened. And you actually say in the book, for those who have the print edition on page 301, you had this opportunity to be the mayor, and to throw the first pitch. Here we are talking about, 1978. And you say this: I really wanted to throw out that first pitch. I was faced with a choice: the death of a childhood dream or the danger of real death by assassination. I preferred take me out to the ball game to take me out at the ball game. Dreams die hard. I decided to take the risk, go to the mound, and make my pitch. And that, to me, symbolizes, Congressman, in so many ways what we see throughout the book. How you assess the situation, remember what your core is, and then act from there. Did it feel like that at the time?
Wow, yes, it did. I just said, look, we have to set fear aside. Fear is a very common emotion. I mean, we all feel, right. We feel it all the time. But fear, we must not ever let fear be our master. We're told, be not afraid, I'm with you always. The idea of staying connected to spirit. If you're connected to spirit, then, whatever it is, it's God's will. You cannot get past that. And so just let go, let God, and just go out there and make the pitch. I mean, that was, but was I aware that there were dangers? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, there's risks every day. Anybody listening to this can refer to the risks that they take in their own life on any given day. And, that's why the writer Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, he said, it's the best use of faith to teach what he called a fatal courage. And so, while I'm not into fatality, and I sure am not interested in meeting my maker just yet, one cannot live in fear. You can't walk in fear and faith at the same time. So I walk in faith, and I walk to the mound in faith.
Yeah. And the word that keeps coming up in that particular chapter, and again for our audience out there, make a note of chapter 36, is the word focus. And I love the fact that you went on to say, after you actually, the experience happened, and our audience, when they read the book, they'll know it happened. You say this: I had to take my chances, go to the mound, throughout the first pitch. I'm not a spectator. And that brings us to where we are now in 2021, because as this book is now coming out, you are in the news for other reasons as well, other than you having this great book, The Division of Light and Power. Is that kind of what you kind of led to the decision about in 2021, Congressman, that you are not a spectator in life? You understand the importance of getting in the game.
Absolutely. And each of us has a choice every day about how we want to live our lives. And to me, go for it every day. You start to, I'll share something with you. I know this will sound maybe unusual, but I feel like every day is the first day of school. I have that kind of excitement that I'm beginning a new day and the potential of a new day, and anything can happen, and I don't spend any time worrying about what might happen. I try to spend my time making things happen and seeing what I can do to transform things, and in my community and in the world. So, yeah, I mean, wow, Cyrus, thank you. This is it's a very gratifying discussion because it causes me to reflect on some of the deeper moments when I was writing that book, because writing it, was a different experience than living it.
Right. Exactly. Well, I definitely invite our audience to get it. Again, The Division of Light and Power by Dennis Kucinich is out now. I got it through our friends at Amazon.com. I have the paperback edition. You can get the paperback edition or the Kindle edition as well. Take advantage of that opportunity. And Congressman, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Well, I have Kucinich.com, Kucinich.com. People can send me a message there. I'm just delighted to be talking to you, Cyrus, and it's like I always keep my heart open. I listen closely to what people are saying, and your careful reading of this and really getting the deeper meaning that I actually tried to lay into every sentence. I mean, you got it, and
Thank you.
You've given me a lot to think about in just having this interview with you. So thank you, thank you, Cyrus.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the time, and you are welcome back here anytime. I'd love to speak with you again.
That's a given. We'll make it happen. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.